All right, today we're diving into one of the most important, but maybe one of the most misunderstood parts of your body. Yep, the thyroid gland. Think of it like the silent CEO of your body's energy company, and we're about to find out exactly how it runs the show. You know those days where you feel like you're just running on rocket fuel? Kind of anxious, buzzing with energy you can't control? Or maybe the complete opposite, where you feel totally drained, sluggish, maybe even a little foggy? Well, it might not just be, your mood or a rough night's sleep. It could actually be your body's internal thermostat, your thyroid, going just a little bit haywire. And here it is. I mean, look at that thing. It might look kind of cute and simple, right? But this little butterfly-shaped gland, and get this, it weighs just 15 to 20 grams in an adult, is an absolute powerhouse. It is the master controller of your body's metabolism, and today we are going to unpack all its secrets. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. What does this master controller actually do? So you'll find your thyroid sitting right at the front of your neck, just below your voice box. And from this little command center, it's sending out chemical messages, we call them hormones, that basically tell every single cell in your body how fast or slow to use energy. And believe me, its influence is, well, it's incredibly far-reaching. We're talking about the hormones that set your basal metabolic rate. That's just the speed you burn calories when you're doing nothing at all. They control your heart rate, your body temperature. They're absolutely critical for a baby's brain development. They even have a huge impact on your mood and your energy levels. Seriously, it's no exaggeration to say this little gland has a hand in pretty much everything. So how does this tiny little gland produce such powerful messengers? Well, let's take a peek inside the hormone factory. Okay, so the factory floor is basically making two key products, T4 and T3. These are the workhorse hormones, the ones that carry out all those functions we were just talking about. And yeah, we're just going to call them T4 and T3 from now on to keep things simple. The whole manufacturing process is actually a pretty simple recipe. So step one, the thyroid acts like a sponge and it just soaks up iodine from the food you eat right out of your bloodstream. Step two, it takes that iodine and combines it with an amino acid called tyrosine. That's what builds the T4 and T3 hormones. And finally, step three, when the body gives the signal, bam, it releases these finished hormones into your bloodstream so they can get to work. And this is where you see the different roles of our two key players. So think of T4 as the stable, long-term storage hormone. The thyroid makes a ton of it, about 93% of its total output. But T3? T3 is the real powerhouse. It's the active form, and it's about 4 times more potent than T4. What's really cool is your body actually converts that stored T4 into the active T3 in other parts of the body, right when and where it's needed. But, like any complex system, sometimes things go wrong. So, what happens when this system breaks down? So when a thyroid malfunctions, it almost always falls into one of two buckets. First, you've got hyperthyroidism. That's when the system goes into total overdrive, flooding your body with way too much hormone. Then, on the flip side, you've got hypothyroidism. That's when the system starts shutting down, and it's just not producing enough hormone to keep things running. So if your body's in overdrive, what does that actually feel like? Well, the symptoms make total sense when you think about it. Your metabolism is just revved up, which can cause weight loss even if you're eating a ton. You feel hot and sweaty. Your heart is racing. You might feel nervous or super excitable, and maybe even get tremors in your hands. Your body is literally burning through its fuel way, way too fast. And if the system is shutting down, well, you get the exact opposite picture. Your metabolism slows to a crawl, which often leads to weight gain and feeling cold all the time. You feel this extreme fatigue, just total lethargy. You might get that classic brain fog and have a hard time remembering things. Even your digestion slows right down. It's just a total system slowdown. Okay, so with such different symptoms, how do doctors figure out what's really going on? Well, it's all about learning how to read the signals. And this right here is the absolute key to diagnosis. See, your thyroid doesn't act alone. It's in a constant conversation with your brain. And the best part is, doctors can actually listen in on this conversation with a simple blood test, and it gives them a crystal clear picture of what's happening. Okay, so the first part of that conversation is something called TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. This is the signal that comes from the brain, and you can think of it just like the thermostat on your wall. When your body needs more energy, the brain cranks up the TSH, telling the thyroid, hey, turn up the heat. But if there's too much energy, it turns the TSH way down, basically saying, okay, ease off a bit. Then, the second part of the conversation is the thyroid's response. That's the T4. This is the actual hormone the thyroid produces. So if TSH is a thermostat, then T4 is the heat coming out of the furnace. It tells us exactly how much work the thyroid is actually doing. And this table just puts it all together perfectly. So let's look at hypothyroidism up top. Your brain senses low energy, right? So it cranks up the TSH signal. It's basically shouting for more heat. But look, the T4 output is low. The furnace is broken. Now, for hyperthyroidism, here the T4 output is way too high. The furnace is stuck on full blast. So what does the brain do? It shuts the TSH signal way down. And finally, you see a healthy system at the bottom. TSH and T4 are both in the normal range. The room is at the perfect temperature. So when doctors first suspect there might be a problem, this TSH level is usually the very first thing they check. There's a pretty well-defined normal range for the signal, and if that number is too high or too low, that's the first big clue that the conversation between the brain and the thyroid isn't going quite as smoothly as it should. All right, so let's bring all these pieces together now and solve this thyroid puzzle. The really big takeaway here is just how elegantly this whole system can be checked. I mean, a simple blood test lets doctors effectively eavesdrop on that crucial communication between your brain's command center and your body's energy factory. It's pretty amazing. Ultimately, it all just comes down to balance. Is the brain's request for energy, that's the TSH signal, being met with the right response from the thyroid, the T4 output? By checking that one simple balance, we can get a fantastic picture of the health of our entire metabolic system. Really, the story of the thyroid is just such a powerful example of the intricate feedback loops and delicate balances that keep our bodies running. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden conversations are happening inside us right at this very moment?